Canada, we'll see what happens with Canada, but the people of Canada would be paying less than half of the tax. If you look at the tax, they're going to be paying less than half the tax. They don't pay very much for military, and the reason they don't pay much is they assume that we're going to protect them. That's not an assumption they can make, because why are we protecting another country?
You needed public support for Canada as it faces not just a trade war. You say you were enthusiastic.
We don't need another country to validate our sovereignty. We are sovereign, and they need to stop before, and they will have to stop before we sit down and have a conversation about our broader partnership with the United States.
Canada, we'll see what happens with Canada, but the people of Canada would be paying less than half of the tax. If you look at the tax, they're going to be paying less than half the tax. They don't pay very much for military, and the reason they don't pay much is they assume that we're going to protect them. That's not an assumption they can make, because why are we protecting another country? Now, I love the people of Canada. We have a great relationship. But if they became our 51st state, it would be the greatest thing they could ever do. It would be unbelievable. It would be a cherished state.
Welcome back, Lise Doucette of
Come
the BBC.
home. Come home.
Canadian,
Yes.
Brunswicker. Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. You came on this first foreign trip making it clear that you needed public support for Canada as it faces not just a trade war. You say you were enthusiastic. Enthusiastic. That was your word today. Enthusiastic support as Canada faces not just a trade war, but threats to its sovereignty. You didn't get that in London. You didn't even get a press conference next to Sir Keir Starmer. Do you regret that? And if you can't take that back to Canada, tell us what is the top thing you achieved in the last 24 hours that you can go back to Canada and that you can say, they have our back.
Great to see you, Lise. I'll say a couple of things. As I said when I was sworn in, which was just Friday, so you don't have to go far back in the BBC archives to find the clip. As I said then, We don't need another country to validate our sovereignty. We are sovereign. We don't need praise from another country. We are proud in and of ourselves. I would point out that the Prime Minister made a point of referring to our sovereignty, made a point of referring to our shared sovereign in King Charles III. So if you're looking for some evidence to your question, you have both my statement of Friday and you have that of the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Look, this 36 hours, and that is what it is effectively, away from Canada, the focus is on security, deepening security partnerships with France, with the United Kingdom. Those discussions are necessarily sensitive. They're revealed in the full course of time. I'm encouraged by the progress that's been made. Secondly, advancing the support for Ukraine that's very necessary. You may have seen that I have invited President Zelensky to the G7. I look forward to hosting him in Canada in June. There are a host of other measures that we are taking as part of the coalition willing to support that. And it also includes economic opportunities with respect to, for example, artificial intelligence, critical minerals, broadening out existing trade relationships that are functioning quite well, and I mean both CETA with respect to the provisional arrangements around CETA with respect to the European Union, where our trade has grown by more than 60%, and similarly with the UK FTA. So we are taking back a lot, but we're also taking back a deepening of our core partnerships, which is the objective, and we're 2/3 of the way through. And if you'd like to come to Iqaluit, you will see more.
To take your point earlier on a number of our allies talking about our sovereignty today, but nobody's come out forcefully and said those comments about the 51st state are just not on. Do you think that our traditional allies are not sticking their necks out because they're concerned that if they say something that'll anger President Trump, that they'll be next?
I think I would take seriously what the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom said today. Look, I don't think one needs to respond to every comment about another country. Look, we can stand up for ourselves. It's Canada strong. We can stand up for ourselves. We've called out those comments. They're disrespectful. They're not helpful. And they need to stop before, and they will have to stop before we sit down and have a conversation about our broader partnership with the United States. But we're Canada. We don't need other people to come to our aid.
There's been a lot of talk on this trip about cooperation in general between Canada and the UK and Canada and France, but there's areas where that cooperation is not happening right now. With the UK, the trade talks, the free trade deal between the two countries, those talks are stalled. And the UK so far has chosen not to retaliate against Trump's tariffs, whereas Canada has retaliated. Did you bring up any specific ways, either on the restarting trade talks or on coordinating retaliation in your meetings today?
Well, look, we take our own decisions with respect to our bilateral trade relationships with the United States. We're not trying to organize a coordinated retaliation. Other countries will take those decisions. For example, what we can do are a series of measures, and there are limits ultimately to this, but there's a series of measures that have maximum impact on the United States and minimum impact on Canada. Those measures that we take might have a different impact on the UK, on France. So look, we don't look for that form of coordinated retaliation. That's not helpful necessarily to those countries, but it's not helpful to the overall process. What we're looking for with respect to the United States is to have a more comprehensive discussion of and negotiation of our overall commercial and security relationship. And when the United States is ready to have that conversation, we're more than ready to sit down.
I noticed you said we have a steadfast defender in our sovereign. Behind closed doors, did any of the leaders you met with today offer assurances that they would have Canada's back if Donald Trump uses greater economic force or more to annex or absorb Canada?
Well, I would know, let me state the obvious, which is that all of us are members of NATO. All of us respect Article 5 of NATO. So the or more part of your question is unthinkable. What we did discuss is, particularly with France, is deeper security and military cooperation, which is in the interest of overall global security. And we did discuss in both cases deepening of our economic ties.
My follow-up is that on April 2nd, President Trump is promising a much larger global tariff regime, including bringing back in the threatened 25% across the board tariffs on Canada. And you've talked about the need for retaliatory tariffs at a dollar-for-dollar level. One assumes the punch coming is going to be much greater.
Yeah.
How much more are you prepared?
You asked your question.
Yeah. How much more are you prepared to go in terms of the monetary hit back, and how much do you think Canada can absorb? Can we?
This is an important question. It's a very important question. There is a limit, given the relative size of our economies, the extent to which we should match U.S. tariffs. Right now, what the government has proposed, and with the 150 billion odd identified products, are products that have, as I said earlier, maximum impact in the United States and limited, but not zero, it's limited impact in Canada that we can affect. And my government's commitment, is that we will use all of the revenues from those tariffs to support Canadian workers that are affected by the U.S. trade actions. Pierre Poilievre's commitment, as his commitment is anytime anything changes, is he's going to use it to cut taxes. So if you aren't paying any taxes because you don't have a job, you're out of luck. Okay, we're going to go help those who are affected by it, as we should, as Canadians want us to, in my view. Now, so just to summarize on your question, there are limits. Now we'll see what happens April 2nd. We'll see what happens after that. We are not going to take an action that we think is not ultimately going to influence the United States, and certainly not one that is outright harmful to Canada, given the overall approach. So this will be very deliberate, and there is a limit, full stop. There is a limit to matching these tariffs dollar for dollar, given the fact that our economy is a tenth the size of the United States. Thank you.